Hello, sunshine. I'm your host, Derick Sanchez. Let's start this banger of a CNN10 today by looking on what's going on in the US-Mexican border.
On June 4th, President Joe Biden held a conference to announce significant new measures aimed at strengthening border control. This event was marked by the introduction of the Presidential Proclamation, Section 212 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the Departments of Homeland Security and Justice, which restrict asylum eligibility for individuals crossing the southern border illegally. These measures are intended to manage high levels of border encounters more effectively and to pace the removal process of those without a legal biases to stay in the United States. This decision was due to the ongoing challenges in the US-Mexico border, including high numbers of unauthorized crossings and overcrowding in the asylum system. Previously, attempts to address these issues through bipartisan legislative efforts were stalled, largely due to the political disagreements and opposition from congressional Republicans, centering around the idea of the border that Trump had set for his previous campaign. As of now, the issue will likely face legal challenges by Democrats and backlash from the public. However, if this action does improve border control, there will likely be more readjustments to the border control in the future.
Politics is quite a lot to digest, but I'll warn you right now, it's going to get way hotter and way more steamier with this upcoming summer.
Weather patterns have been significantly influenced by the transitioning from an El Nino phase to La Nina phase. The shift impacts global weather, causing various changes in temperature and precipitation across different regions. El Nino and La Nina are part of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or the ENSO cycle, which can affect ocean temperatures in the Pacific Ocean and subsequently influence global weather patterns. El Nino is characterized by warmer than average sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern Pacific. Meanwhile, La Nina is marked by cooler than average sea surface temperatures in the same regions. The transition from El Nino to La Nina occurs as these ocean temperatures shift, altering atmospheric conditions globally. It's important to understand these types of trends because they significantly impact weather forecasts, which help us understand the temperature and precipitation trends in certain states or countries, which are essential for agriculture and disaster preparedness and resource management. However, considering the fact that La Nina can increase the intensity of the Atlantic hurricane season, this can eventually create a higher risk of hurricanes and tropical storms this upcoming summer and later on this year. Additionally, it can affect rainfall patterns, potentially causing floods or droughts in various regions. Regions prone to these hurricanes, such as the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic seaboard, will need to prepare for a potentially more active hurricane season due to La Nina.
Let's get our groove on with the 10-second trivia question.
What year did jazz begin to make popularity in the US? The 1920s, the 40s, the hundreds, or the 80s? If you said the 1920s, you know your music. Between the 1910s and the 1930s, millions of African Americans moved from the South to urban areas in the North, seeking better economic opportunities, while also being a way to escape from racial segregation and violence. This transition would spark the artistic explosion that took place in Harlem, New York, during the 1920s and 30s. This movement, known as the Harlem Renaissance, involved a dynamic exchange of ideas and a celebration of Black cultural identity, influencing literature, music, theater, and visual arts. The Harlem Renaissance sparked various literary works. Notable writers included Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, Claude McKay, and Countee Cullen. Their works explored themes of racial pride, heritage, and African American experience. Jazz and blues music flourished during this period as well. Musicians like Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, and Bessie Smith became prominent figures, while the Cotton Club and other venues in Harlem were crucial in the spread of jazz music in unsegregated areas in the South. As of today, this period is an inspirational era that highlights and embraces the idea and Black cultural identity in the U.S.
That leads us into our 10 out of 10 today.
Icelandic Chinese musician Nueve has captivated audiences with their unique blend of musical and jazz elements. As mentioned, jazz was the most significant to embracing Black culture. Having developed from ragtime and blues, the genre focuses on symphonic rhythms, varying degrees of improvisation, often deliberate deviations of pitch, and the use of original tunes. Jazz in itself has grown with time as different artists experiment and expand upon the expressive nature the music tries to uphold. And in her recent album, Bewitched, Loewe introduces the vocal jazz techniques such as scatting that haven't been heard in the 21st century at all. She does this while entwining classical instruments and jazz into fizzy pop. Her appreciation for jazz culture, in her own words, and music has brought what many call the reawakening of jazz. But it has been debated over whether jazz has died off in the first place or is simply gaining popularity in this era. Her role in jazz has inspired many others to look back and embrace an appreciation, not just for the tune, but for the artistic styles that flourished during the Harlem Renaissance.